herself to the sharks to be feasted upon. How could she be sure she was here now? Yetu needed to recover her composure. She'd never done something that dangerous before. She had lost more control of her abilities than she'd realized. The rememberings were always drawing her backward into the ancestors' memories. That was what they were supposed to do, but not at the expense of her life. "Come to me," said Amaba several paces away. Too weak to argue, Yetu offered no protest. She resigned herself for now to do her Amaba's biddings. "You need medicine, child, and food. When did you last eat?" Yetu didn't remember, but as she took a moment to zero in on the emptiness in her stomach, she was surprised to find the pain of it was a vortex she could easily get lost in. She moved her body, examined its contours. She'd been withering away. Now there was little left of her but the base amounts of outer fat she needed to keep warm in the ocean's deepest waters. As evidenced by her encounter with the sharks, Yetu's condition was worsening. With each passing year, she was less and less able to distinguish rememberings from the present. "Eat these, they will help your throat heal," said Amaba, drawing her daughter into her embrace. Yetu floated in the dense black brine, her Amaba's fins a lasso about her torso. "Come now, I said eat." Amaba pressed venom leaves into Yetu's mouth, humming a made-up lullaby as she did. Water waves from her voice stroked Yetu's scales, and though Yetu usually avoided such stimulation, she was pleased to have a tether to the waking world as her connection to it grew more and more precarious. She needed frequent reminders she was more than a vessel for the ancestors' memories. She wouldn't let herself disappear. "Keep chewing. That's good, very good. Now swallow." Spurred by the promise of pain relief as much by her Amaba's prodding, Yetu gagged the medicine down. Venom leaves slithered like slime down her throat and into her belly, and with every swallow she coughed. "See? Isn't that nice? Can you feel it working in you yet?" Cradled in her Amaba's front fins, Yetu looked but a pup. It was fitting. In this moment she was as reliant on Amaba's care as she had been in infancy. She'd grown from colicky pup into mercurial adolescent into tempestuous adult, still sometimes in need of her Amaba's deep nurturing. Given her sensitivity, no one should have been surprised that the rememberings affected Yetu more deeply than previous historians, but then everything surprised Wajinru. Their memories faded after weeks or months, if not through Wajinru biological predisposition for forgetfulness, then through sheer force of will. Those cursed with more intact long-term recollection learned how to forget, how to throw themselves into the moment. Only the historian was allowed to remember. After several moments, the venom leaves took effect, and the pain in Yetu's hoarse throat numbed. Other aches soothed, too. The stiffness all but disappeared from her neck. Overworked muscles relaxed. Sedated, she could think more clearly now. "Amaba," Yetu said. She was calmer and in a state to better explain what had happened that morning, why she'd gone to the sharks, why she'd put herself in such danger, why she'd threatened the Wajinru legacy so selfishly. If Yetu died doing something reckless and the Wajinru were not able to recover her body, the next historian would not be able to harvest the ancestors' rememberings from Yetu's mind. Bits of the history could be salvaged from the shark's body, assuming they found it, but it was an incredible risk, and no doubt whole sections would be lost. Worse, the Wajinru didn't know who was to succeed Yetu. They may not have had the memories to understand the importance of this fully, but they had an inkling. It had been plain to all for many years that Yetu was a creature on the precipice, and without a successor in place, they'd be lost. They'd have to improvise. Previous historians had spent their days roaming the ocean to collect the memories of the living Wajinru before they were forgotten. Such a task ensured that the historian understood who was best suited to take on the role after their own death came. In addition to reaching into the minds of Wajinru to log the events of the era, historians learned whose minds were electrosensitive enough to host the rememberings in the future, and shared that information often and repeatedly with other Wajinru. Yetu never did this. The ocean overwhelmed her even when she was in its most quiet portions, and that was before taking on the rememberings. Now that she was the historian, it was even worse, her mind unable to process it all. She couldn't fathom spending her days traveling across the sea only to burden herself with more memories at the end of each journey. Unfortunately for Yetu, when the previous historian